Evelyn Carter was the brilliant and powerful CEO behind the success of Carter's Couture, a high-end fashion chain renowned across the United States. With her sharp vision and savvy business strategies, Evelyn had transformed the brand from a small boutique into a multi-billion-dollar fashion empire. She was known not only for her exquisite taste but also for her decisive leadership, always emphasizing a premium shopping experience for every customer. However, recently, Evelyn started receiving complaints from friends and loyal customers about discriminatory behavior at some of her store locations. Stories about staff being cold or disrespectful to black customers or those dressed casually deeply upset her. Evelyn couldn't tolerate the idea that the brand she had built with such dedication was becoming a place of prejudice and judgment based solely on appearances. Unwilling to rely solely on internal reports or biased feedback from her lower-level managers, Evelyn decided to investigate herself. She planned to go undercover as an ordinary customer, dressed modestly, to see firsthand how her employees were treating people. To Evelyn, fairness and respect were not only core values of her brand but also deeply held personal beliefs. Determined to uncover the truth, she prepared herself for a challenging journey to protect the reputation of Carter's Couture, and more importantly to uphold the dignity of every customer. Disguised in a simple jeans and sweater combo, Evelyn Carter stepped into one of her flagship Carter's Couture stores in downtown Chicago. Her normally flawless hair was tied back in a messy bun, and she wore minimal makeup. To any onlooker, she appeared as just another casual shopper. But beneath the plain exterior was a sharp CEO on a mission to uncover the truth. The store was as elegant as she remembered, with polished marble floors and sleek gold accents reflecting the warm lighting. Designer dresses hung neatly on velvet hangers, and the air was scented with a subtle, luxurious fragrance. But Evelyn wasn't there to admire the decor, she was there to observe the customer service. As she wandered through the aisles, she couldn't help but notice the sales associates' behavior. Two well-dressed women were immediately approached by an employee who greeted them with a radiant smile and an enthusiastic, "Welcome to Carter's Couture. How can I assist you today?" Evelyn continued browsing, waiting for similar acknowledgement. But it never came. She picked up an elegant dress, pretending to examine the fabric, then glanced around. The associates were nearby, whispering and occasionally glancing in her direction, their expressions disinterested, almost dismissive. She moved closer to the register, hoping to ask a question about the dress she was holding. But as she approached, the cashier turned away, busying herself with inventory. Another customer, dressed in designer labels, received immediate attention. Evelyn felt a pang of anger and disbelief. Was this how they treated customers who didn't fit a certain image? Determined to test it further, she asked, "Excuse me, could you help me find a size medium for this dress?" The sales associate barely looked at her and responded with a curt, "Everything we have is already out." No offer to check in the back, no attempt to assist her further. The interaction was cold, dismissive, exactly what she had feared. Evelyn felt a wave of indignation rising within her. She had built Carter's Couture on the principle of elegance and inclusivity. Every customer, regardless of appearance, should be treated with respect. Yet, here she was, experiencing firsthand the very discrimination her friends and customers had complained about. She realized the problem ran deeper than she had imagined. Leaving the store, Evelyn's heart was heavy, but her resolve was stronger than ever. This wasn't just about poor customer service, it was about a toxic culture of judgment and prejudice. As she walked down the bustling Chicago streets, she knew she couldn't stand by and let this continue. Change was needed, from the ground up, and she was the only one who could make it happen. Back at her office, high above the bustling streets of Chicago, Evelyn Carter replayed the events of her undercover visit in her mind. Seated at her sleek mahogany desk, she looked out over the skyline, her reflection faintly visible in the floor-to-ceiling windows. The memory of being ignored and dismissed still stung. It wasn't just about her own experience, it was about what it revealed about her brand. How many others had been treated that way? How many potential customers had walked out feeling less than worthy simply because they didn't fit a superficial mold? Her fingers tapped rhythmically on the desk as she pulled up customer feedback reports on her laptop. Sure enough, the pattern was there, hidden in the words of dissatisfied customers. Phrases like "felt ignored," "judged," and "unwelcome" jumped out at her. Some mentioned feeling looked down upon because they weren't dressed in designer labels. Others described cold, dismissive attitudes from sales associates. Evelyn's jaw tightened. This wasn't just a one-time incident, it was a systemic issue. Determined to get to the bottom of it, Evelyn called a meeting with her executive team. They filed in, oblivious to the storm brewing beneath her composed exterior. As they took their seats, she stood at the head of the long conference table, her presence commanding. "I visited one of our stores yesterday," she began, her voice calm but carrying an unmistakable edge. Incognito. The room went silent. A few exchanged uneasy glances, their postures stiffening. Evelyn continued, her eyes sharp as she scanned the faces before her. "What I experienced was unacceptable. I was ignored, dismissed, and treated as though I didn't belong. And judging by the customer feedback reports, I'm not the only one." She could see the color draining from some of their faces. They needed to feel the weight of this. One executive, Brian, cleared his throat nervously. We had no idea, Evelyn. We thought our customer service ratings were solid." She fixed him with a steely gaze. "Solid isn't good enough. I built Carter's Couture to be a brand of elegance and inclusivity. If we're failing to live up to that, then we're failing, period." The room was tense, the air heavy with the gravity of her words. Evelyn took a deep breath, her resolve unwavering. "I want immediate changes. Sensitivity training for all employees. A complete overhaul of our customer service approach. And I want a personal apology sent to every customer who felt mistreated. We need to rebuild trust." Her team nodded, scribbling notes with a sense of urgency. Evelyn knew this was just the beginning. Rooting out prejudice wouldn't happen overnight, but she was ready to fight for the integrity of her brand. Because Carter's Couture wasn't just about fashion, it was about respect, dignity, and belonging. And she would settle for nothing less. The changes were swift and sweeping. Under Evelyn's direct orders, sensitivity training was rolled out across every Carter's Couture store. No location was exempt. From bustling Chicago to the quiet suburbs, employees sat through sessions designed to challenge biases and redefine what customer service meant. Evelyn made sure the training wasn't just another corporate formality. It was personal. Each session began with a video message from her, eyes steady and voice firm, as she recounted her own experience. "If I, the founder and CEO, could feel unwelcome in my own store, imagine how our customers must feel," she stated. Her words were a wake-up call, echoing through every training room. But Evelyn knew education wasn't enough. She needed accountability. Mystery shoppers were hired to evaluate the changes, reporting back with detailed observations. And the feedback started rolling in. At first, progress was slow. Some employees struggled to break old habits, their smile still superficial, their attention wavering based on a customer's appearance. Evelyn's frustration grew, but she didn't relent. She held weekly meetings with her management team, dissecting every report, demanding better. "We don't get to choose who walks through our doors," she emphasized. "But we do get to choose how we make them feel." Determined to lead by example, Evelyn returned to the stores, this time not in disguise but as herself. She spoke with employees not as their CEO, but as someone who understood the pressures of retail. She listened to their challenges, learning that some felt overwhelmed by sales quotas, leading to snap judgments about who could afford their products. Evelyn realized that changing mindsets meant changing policies. She adjusted performance metrics, shifting the focus from sales numbers to customer satisfaction. If her team couldn't see the value in every customer, then the numbers meant nothing. Slowly the culture began to shift. Employees became more attentive, greeting each person with genuine warmth, regardless of their outfit or perceived wealth. Mystery shopper reports began reflecting this change. Phrases like "felt welcomed" and "treated with respect" appeared more frequently. Evelyn allowed herself a small measure of satisfaction but knew the journey wasn't over. The real test would be seeing if these changes lasted. To ensure the new culture was permanent, Evelyn implemented a customer feedback loop, encouraging honest reviews and personally reading every comment. When she saw praise for employees who had once been flagged for dismissive behavior, she felt a surge of hope. People could change. Prejudices could be unlearned. It just took leadership that refused to compromise. Evelyn was that leader. And she would continue fighting for a brand that stood for more than just luxury. It stood for dignity, respect, and belonging. The grand reopening of Carter's Couture flagship store was a spectacle. The glass doors sparkled under the midday sun, reflecting the vibrant crowd that gathered outside. Reporters buzzed with curiosity, cameras flashing as Evelyn stood poised at the entrance. She wore a sleek emerald green suit, a nod to the brand's legacy of elegance. But today wasn't just about fashion. It was about redemption. It was about proving that change wasn't just possible, it was real. As she cut the ceremonial ribbon, applause erupted, echoing down the bustling street. Customers flooded inside, eyes wide with wonder at the redesigned layout. The store was a masterpiece of inclusivity. Mannequins of diverse shapes, sizes, and shades graced the windows, reflecting a broader spectrum of beauty. The sales associates, now trained to engage without judgment, greeted each person with genuine smiles and attentive care. Evelyn moved through the crowd, observing the interactions with a watchful eye. Every welcome to Carter's Couture felt authentic, every offer of assistance sincere. Then she saw her. At the edge of the room, a woman hesitated, her hand brushing the sleeve of a luxurious cashmere coat. Her clothes were simple, her sneakers worn. In the past she might have been overlooked, judged unworthy of attention. But today an associate approached her warmly, complimenting her choice. Evelyn watched as the woman's shoulders relaxed, her guarded expression softening. It was a small moment, almost insignificant. Yet it was everything. It was proof that Carter's Couture had changed. As the event continued, Evelyn stood near the staircase, letting the atmosphere wash over her. The store was alive, buzzing with laughter, conversation, and most importantly, acceptance. She thought back to her undercover visits, the sting of being dismissed and judged. That pain had driven her to this moment, to transforming her brand from the inside out. And standing there, watching her vision come to life, she felt a deep, quiet pride. A familiar voice pulled her from her thoughts. It was the woman from the store in Chicago, the one who had dismissed her so easily. She looked nervous, her posture uncertain. "Miss Carter," she began, voice trembling, "I just wanted to apologize. I judged you unfairly. I didn't realize. I didn't know who you were." Evelyn's gaze softened. "It shouldn't have mattered who I was," she replied gently. "Every customer deserves respect." The woman nodded, her eyes moist with regret. "Thank you for giving me a second chance. I'm learning, trying to do better." Evelyn placed a hand on her shoulder, her smile warm. "We all are." At that moment, she knew she had achieved more than just a successful reopening. She had changed hearts. And that was worth more than any profit margin. As the evening sun dipped below the city skyline, casting a golden glow over the store's glass facade, Evelyn stood by the window, reflecting on the journey that had brought her here. The grand reopening was a triumph, but it wasn't just about boosting sales or brand prestige. It was about restoring dignity, challenging prejudice, and setting a new standard for how people should be treated, regardless of their appearance or background. Her thoughts drifted back to that fateful day in Chicago, where she'd been judged and dismissed without a second thought. It would have been easy to fire the employees involved and issue a public apology, but Evelyn knew the problem ran deeper. Discrimination was woven into the fabric of society, into the unspoken biases that influenced how people were perceived. To change that, she had to do more than just issue statements. She needed to transform mindsets. Looking around the store, she saw the impact of her vision. Customers of all walks of life shopped freely, engaged by associates who saw them as individuals, not stereotypes. There were no sideways glances, no whispered judgments, just genuine interactions and respect. It was proof that change was possible. Just then, Liam approached, his eyes gleaming with admiration. "You did it, Evelyn. You changed the narrative." She smiled, a mix of relief and fulfillment washing over her. "We did it," she corrected, knowing she hadn't done this alone. It took a team willing to unlearn and grow, to face uncomfortable truths and emerge better. As the last customers trickled out, Evelyn felt hope. This wasn't just a new chapter for Carter's Couture. It was a legacy she was proud to leave behind. The story of Evelyn's journey teaches us the power of empathy and the importance of challenging our own biases. It's a reminder that discrimination isn't just about overt actions. It often lies in the quiet judgments we make without realizing it. By stepping into others' shoes and confronting uncomfortable truths, we can begin to break down the walls that divide us. Evelyn's approach shows that real change starts from within, through education, awareness, and intentional action. In our daily lives, we can apply this lesson by treating every person with respect, regardless of appearance or background. It's about seeing individuals for who they truly are, not through the lens of stereotypes. By fostering environments of inclusivity and understanding, we contribute to a more just and equitable society. The courage to face our biases and the commitment to change can transform not only businesses but also communities and lives.